This is not about Ukraine. It's about NATO, of course. So if you want to be safe and away from these creeps, maybe Hungary's the place to go for you guys. Who knows?
I mean, at the very least, that's consistent with the messaging we heard when the special operation began last year, is that these places are welcoming to Ukrainian families. So there are 4 European nations who continue to say that.
So, of course, this is not a surprise coming from Hungary, right? Because in recent days, there have been credible reports that Ukraine and the United States are planning to blow up some more pipelines, specifically the Blue Stream pipeline and the Turk Stream pipelines. The Blue Stream pipeline brings gas to Hungary, and Viktor Orban responded to these reports and said that any attack on these pipelines would be considered an act of war on Hungary. So if you're thinking about blowing up our pipeline, you might want to think twice about that. Orban has, of course, for years been talking about increasing energy flows from Russia via the pipeline. So, the United States already blew up the Nord Stream pipeline. Would they do this against, they already don't like, the United States already doesn't like Viktor Orban. They certainly don't like Hungary, and they would love to meddle in this way. So, of course, the needling back and forth right now between Orban, Ukraine, and NATO is fascinating to watch. Meanwhile, what about Germany? They've been sending these big tanks, plenty of tanks into Ukraine. They've been doing training exercises for Ukrainian soldiers in Germany. So Germany's been, up Ukraine's ass for a while now. Well, now Germany also saying, sorry, we're not going to do this. According to the news agency Deutsche Welle is reporting that German officials who spoke to the state broadcaster did not intend to send any draft-eligible refugees back to Ukraine. So Germany's saying, F you, sorry, we're not doing this. Since they say desertion and draft evasion are not crimes under German law. Right now, there are over 123,000 Ukrainian men of military age in Germany. I'm going to go through some of the numbers here. It's actually kind of staggering in some of these other countries. So 123,000 Ukrainian men. That's a massive contingent of military age men in Germany. And Germany saying, sorry, we're not going to send them back. That's kind of an astonishing move from Germany. Austria was the very first to come out and say, sorry, we're not doing that. We're not sending any military-age men back to Ukraine that sought refuge here in Austria. There are 14,000 potential draftees among the 101,000 Ukrainian refugees in that country. So 14,000. It's a pretty strong contingent of military-age men.
It doesn't take a genius to know what they're sending those men back to do. They're sending them back to die.
That's exactly right.
Right.
There's no other way to read it. The graveyards are growing at an exponential rate in Ukraine. Now, and we'll show you in just a moment what they're planning to do to women. So Ukraine is getting, of course, desperate. And the fact that they're out of men, we spoke to Colonel Douglas McGregor yesterday here on the show, who said they are out of men. That's it. Full stop. They are out of men. And so now they're getting very, very desperate and seeking out as many men as they can get around the world. Which European countries will comply? And by the way, I just should point out what Austria said. I think this is a pretty interesting statement from Austria. Austria says to send these draftees back to Ukraine would, quote, be a massive encroachment on our statehood. We would never do that. Unpack that.
Well, we saw, it was the Austrian parliament last year who walked out of a Zelensky speech, right? So it is in their constitution to be neutral. So they absolutely, it would be a constitutional crisis for them to do something like that.
Interesting. Yeah. So an encroachment on our statehood. We would never do that. Interesting. On the other hand, Poland has already started sending Ukrainian men back. So Poland is actively sending Ukrainian men back to die in Ukraine, according to the Hungarian media. Of course, Poland would do this. Poland is, fully up NATO's ass. They're like a pierogi up NATO's ass right now. And they'll do whatever the United States wants, and Poland will do it. Hey, you want to build military bases here? You want us to send these military-age Ukrainian men back to fight and die? We'll do it. That's what Poland's doing right now. And take a look at this piece of propaganda move by the United States. Keep this up on the screen. This is unbelievable. So,
did you mean to draw that like a phallus?
I had trouble drawing that. I was sketching in it, and I was using my mouse pad, I was using my trackpad, and I didn't do it very well. But I apologize. Yes. yes,
it looks more like a letter opener anyway. So
okay, or like a butter knife with some cream cheese on it or something. I don't know.
yeah.
Anyway, but this is if you go to the U.S. Embassy and Consulate in Poland. Okay, this is the U.S. Embassy and Consulate in Poland website. You can go there today if you want to see this yourself. You can see that the United States government, your tax dollars, have put up a $50,000 offer for Polish media coverage for Polish media journalists to cover Ukrainians returning to Ukraine. So
That's very specific.
So let me unpack this. So what this means is you have a funding opportunity for journalists in Poland who want to do the bidding of the United States. So if you are a Polish journalist and you want to get a $50,000 grant from the U.S. Embassy, U.S. State Department to write propaganda pieces about how Ukrainians are going back to Ukraine to fight and rebuild. Like, will you take that money from the United States to write propaganda pieces? I mean, this is literal propaganda right on the U.S. Embassy's website, asking for you to lie about what Ukrainians are going back to Ukraine to die.
Well, it falls right into the narrative that they want to create, which is like they're going back to rebuild all that Russia has destroyed.
Right.
Yeah. Oh, exactly. And will you write that piece? And it is, it's very specific on their website, like how they exactly break this down and what they want you to do. $50,000, the total amount available, $50,000. And let's see, the project will support training and content production tailored to Polish journalists on a competitive basis. The project will provide small grants for Polish journalists to develop and execute reporting on the return of refugees from Poland and the rebuilding efforts. So that's right on the U.S. Embassy's website. You can read that right on the U.S. Embassy's website. Meanwhile, what's happening to the women? So in the past 48 hours, the Ukraine has now decided to close the borders for mobilized women. So they can't get their men back. You know what? We need to make sure that the women are being held as well. And they're going through all of that training right now with those wooden guns that you can see here on the screen, because they don't have the guns available for training. So they're giving them wooden guns, fake guns that they can pretend to play war. So all women in Ukraine who have medical or pharmaceutical educations will be obligated to register with the military starting next month, Zelensky says.
Now they're thinking, I picked the wrong field to go into. I should have been a vet.
I know, right?
I wonder if that's so that they know how to dole out the methamphetamines.
I find this to be a very patronizing image of like, okay, little girl, you don't get a real gun to train with. I just don't feel like they would post an image like that of a man.
No, of course not. But they're, we've covered this before. These women are training with these wooden guns because they don't have them to train with. They don't have the weapons. So.
Right, but the imagery feels like it's acceptable because it just rings to me as patronizing to a woman.
Basically, what we need these women to do is go and walk across landmines so we can find out where the landmines are. We'll just, like what we're using the Ukrainian men to do, just walk across these fields right now so they can be used as meat and be killed. Ukraine closing its borders for mobilized women, and of course those women that you see at the nightclub videos and so forth in Kiev also being told, no, don't party anymore. We need you to start enlisting as well and becoming a part of the military. And Europe closing down, at least. So we have 4 countries now. We have the Czech Republic, we have Austria, we have Germany, and what was the other one?
Hungary.
And Hungary, yeah. So those 4 countries, we applaud them for standing up and saying, absolutely not. We're not going to send these men back to die. If you live in any of these other European countries, let those countries know that you do not support sending these young men back to die.
Same if you're in the UK or if you're in the US. Tell any and all lawmakers we don't support extradition so that we can send these people to their deaths.
We want to tell you about our daily newsletter, which is totally free. We would love for you to subscribe to it. And all you need to do to subscribe is just go to redacted.inc. Again, it's totally free. And we try to bring you a ton of value. So this is not some crappy newsletter. In fact, if you talk to the kids, if you're out camping and a couple comes up to you and says, hey, we love Redacted, ask them, are you a subscriber of the newsletter? And chances are they probably are, because it's the first thing that you get to read in your inbox in the morning when you wake up over your cup of coffee. We really try to provide a lot of value, and we cover about 4 or 5 of the big stories of the day that we think you might have missed overnight, provide some additional context that the mainstream media will not give you. We also try to cover some stories you might have missed, like little nuggets of information, and we make sure that we link everything. So all of the stories are linked properly. If you ever want to find out, archived versions of news sources and everything like that is all linked up. We do a great job of really trying to make sure that everything is sourced and linked back to its original source. So it's really a great place to get all of that information. I noticed that more and more news organizations these days simply are not linking to original source material, and it's it's a shame because I think they're trying to take credit for stuff. I don't know what they're doing. I don't know why they're doing it. But anyway, in the newsletter, you will find links to the original sources, great stories. And again, it's totally free. And it's our way to stay connected with you in this increasingly censorship world. So go to redacted.inc, not .com. It's .inc. Put in your email. You'll receive a welcome email. And then you will get the newsletter first thing Monday through Thursday at about 7 a.m. Eastern Time. So thanks to everyone for subscribing and joining us here live at 4 p.m. Eastern Time, Monday through Thursday. We really appreciate it.